Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. This time round, we are checking out a mod by the name of Delaweare. Or is it Delaweare? Going by the spelling, it's probably Delaweare. In either case, this is an art. What gives it away? Well, just look at the thing. It is trippy as all heck. The shifting wall textures, the interesting design of the hand model here, the very abstract nature of the pickups, which are ammo and armor, and the very abstract nature of the enemies themselves, which I gotta admit, I didn't realize were actually supposed to be enemies the first time round until they actually started shooting back at me. So what exactly is the overall aim of Delaweare here? What are you here to achieve? Well, first, depending on your constitution, we'll be probably fighting off a mild wave of nausea as you acclimatize to the shifting wall and floor textures. But you'll also notice that when you acquire your first weapon here, it tells you that it was one of 4, giving you your first clue as to what you're supposed to be doing here, which is exploring this shifting psychedelic space and acquiring more of these things, which are described as tracks. Now, the reason why the weapons are described as tracks is that the weapons themselves are actually directly tied to the music that is currently playing. Pick up a new track, your weapon will change, and so too will the music that accompanies it. And I suppose in that sense you could also describe this as an interactive EP of sorts. Not only are you exploring the environment here, but you're also exploring the music. And for a little bit of additional context here, the title of this also directly references the musician behind the tracks that you hear during the course of this too. So the theory of this being a sort of interactive EP does hold some sort of weight. As for the visual side of things here, the person chiefly responsible for that would be visual artist Space is Green, and after checking out some of the work that they have hosted on the website, I'd say that the design of Delaweare here is very much in keeping with the overall style. In fact, the collision of both audio and visual elements here means that you are essentially experiencing a double art. When you find your next track pickup, you'll discover that unlike the first one, this will drench the world in the color of the pickup itself. In this case, the very striking color of red. However, the effect, as you can see, does not last very long, which I think is a damn shame, because I would have loved the opportunity after killing those aggressive orbs to just wander out and appreciate the level from a new hue. In fact, I feel it's this kind of brevity that probably diminishes the experience as a whole. I never really feel like I have enough time between points of interest to truly wallow in the effects, be it visual or auditory, and I'd certainly lean more on the side of wanting to listen to more of the tracks themselves. Basically, the space that you have to traverse from point to point when it comes to acquiring new tracks is often easily navigable, and by the time you do reach a new track, you feel like there hasn't been enough adequate time for the music itself to get into it, so to speak. As a result, if you really want to soak these musical tracks up and experience them in tandem with the landscape itself, you are gonna have to actively dilly-dally, which is something that pretty much goes against my programming when it comes to playing things that are Doom related. I'm very objective focused in that regard. I want to know where I'm going, what I need to achieve, and I want to crack the heck on with doing just that. For others though, it may not be such a problem, but I think something that would have certainly aided me in allowing me to wallow a little easier in what's going on here would be a bit more of a complex to navigate level itself. I appreciate the open freeform nature of it. I like that there's no set order for you to acquire tracks, but I just wish there was a little bit more of it to see. When you do acquire those new tracks though, you certainly do feel the change of mood. This one in particular is quite possibly the most dramatic of them all, flipping the colors into the black and white negative and being genuinely eerie as a result. It felt like something terrible was about to strike that I should prepare myself for a bit of a tough fight, perhaps. Maybe that was just the instinct that I've developed through many years of playing various Doom mods and knowing when the shit is about to hit the fan. But unfortunately, Delaweare, which I've decided is now the correct name to call this, doesn't really capitalize on that. In general, you'll simply continue doing what you've been doing this entire time, exploring the environment, acquiring new tracks, and occasionally engaging those oddly aggressive orbs in combat. Really, the most challenging it gets is with this particular weapon here, which introduces a bit of an arc to the projectile that you throw, meaning that if your enemy is a fair distance away, such as this one here, you'll have to be a little bit more accurate with your throw. If I were to view this exclusively as a first-person shooter, as a game, I would probably come away from this feeling that it was a very bare-bones experience. I'd probably even describe it maybe as a proof of concept of something potentially greater to come, because at its heart I really enjoy the idea of each weapon being accompanied by a unique musical track. There's certainly things that you could do with that. In fact, things have been done with that. There's a game called Res, which does, quite frankly, transcendent things with visuals and audio, and the integration of the two. Crucially, I feel that the experience of playing Delaweare could be greatly improved by just expanding it a little, making the level a bit more interesting to navigate, allowing me to spend a little longer with the musical tracks, giving me a few more interesting enemies to actually deal with, more interesting weapons with which to fight them with. Until then, it's an interesting oddity. If you're interested in giving Delaweare a spin for yourself, then you'll find the link, as usual, in the description below. While I'm at it, I'd like to give a great big thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and for helping to make content like this possible. If you're interested in lending a hand yourself, maybe you'd like to see your name in the credits, or maybe you'd like to get early editions of my videos before anyone else, in which case you'll find the link to my Patreon page also in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and feel free to suggest any mods you'd like to see me cover in future editions of Doom Mod Madness. This has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.